This is a mock interview conducted by ForumIAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent academicians, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
So may I come in?
Please come in.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please sit down.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Is this your first mock interview?
No, sir.
Which one is this?
It's a third.
Third.
Yes, sir.
Chhaya is from Guna in Madhya Pradesh and has taken law as the option. After doing B.A.LL.B in criminal law specialization.
Yes, sir.
Is that the name of the course?
Yes, sir. So it's not the name of the course.
You must have chose some option to specialize in criminal.
Yes, sir. After 3 years are done, in the fourth year, for the fourth and fifth year, we have to choose a specialization.
Okay. From Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, Punjab, and she has worked as ACP in Delhi Police. This was which service? DANIX?
DANIPS.
DANIP.
Yes, sir.
This is also from this UPSC.
Yes, sir.
Through the UPSC only. The first you selected in the DANIPS.
Yes, sir.
Then Defense Account Service.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so twice you must have appeared for the interview, at least.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And hobbies, art, journaling. You are from Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh has a very large forest cover.
Yes, sir.
Highest in the country, perhaps. The Forest Conservation Act was recently amended by the Parliament. Why was it amended? What was the urgency?
Sir, I'll have to read about the Forest Conservation Act, sir. I have still not read it.
You've done law. Why was it necessary to amend the 3 criminal laws?
Yes, sir.
Why not the relevant sections instead of amending the law?
So there are certain points, sir. First of all, to ensure speedy trial to the victims, there were certain changes needed. Also, sir, to introduce new offences, to remove archaic offences which were there, sir. And also new mediums of investigations have been coming up, to introduce them also, sir. That is why, sir, the changes were introduced. Overarching changes were introduced, sir.
Don't you think it will lead to a lot of problems for the police to investigate, for the judges to pass orders? Because most of the numbers of the sections have changed.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. In the short term, it can lead to problems. However, sir, the laws were given in December itself last year, and now they will come into force from 1st of July. So this 6 months transition period is given for capacity building and development, and this will have to go on further also. In the short term, there may be obstacle, but in the longer run, sir, these are good overall for the criminal justice system.
Okay. What are the reforms required in the criminal justice system?
Yes, sir. So, first reform that is required is with respect to the police reforms, sir. So, police reforms in the sense that many committees have given recommendations, Supreme Court had given recommendation. Second is the judicial reforms, those are required because of the vacancy and high pendency of cases. And third is the prison reforms that are required, sir, because of a lot of under trials in the prisoner and the condition and the reformative things that they are facing. So, all of these holistic reforms are required in the system.
The experts talk about prison reforms, and the main problem they talk about is a large number of under trials. And most of the under trials belong to the lower sections of the society who have no money to hire lawyers or no other system to defend them in courts. What should be done about so many under trials where prisons are already full of people?
So first of all, implementing the laws which are already present for the under trials. For instance, that after half of the prison sentences, then they should be given automatic bail. So these laws should be first and foremost applied properly, and then also what needs is the strengthening of the legal services, district legal services that we have, who are there to provide a lawyer for the poor, so that they also get a fair representation in front of the judges. So this has to be done. We can also use technology in this. Earlier, Supreme Court has given guidelines on this. Earlier, notices were sent to the prisons. It used to take 1 month, 2 months, and then another 3 months for the procedural conditions for them to be released. This could be done online. So as soon as their date comes, they need to be released. Also, we can strengthen the parole system and also furlough system that we have. And all these measures can help in removing the under trials from the prisons, sir.
You mentioned about parole. Under what law rules parole is given to a prisoner?
So exact law I am unable to recall, sir. I'll have to
Is the
revise.
state government competent to allow?
Yes, sir, the state government is competent to allow, but exact law I am unable to recall under which it is written, sir.
Okay. Madhya Pradesh agriculture. What do you know about it? What crops are grown? What is the productivity? How much does it contribute to the national kitty?
So Madhya Pradesh has become one of the major producers of wheat lately. It is also one of the major producer of soya bean. It is also one of the major producers of pulses. And recently there has also been a push for growing millets in Madhya Pradesh, for example, kodo kutki, sir. So these are the contributions of Madhya Pradesh in agriculture, sir.
Okay, you must have read the NSO figures on the projected growth in agriculture this year. It is very low at 0.7%. What are the reasons given for this low
So
production?
exact reasons I have not read, sir. I just read the data. I will
You
read
must
about
have
it.
read about the El Nino effect,
Yes, sir.
poor monsoon. Now, if there's so much dependence on monsoon for our agriculture, and you keep waiting that let the monsoon be good, how do we plan for our future agriculture? If there is a second revolution, what can be done?
Sir, as you said, the problem is monsoon dependency and water scarcity. So we can utilize biotech. And like we had HYV seeds earlier, which can give higher yield. So we can have yields which are climate resistant, drought resistant. So research can be done on that to usher in a new revolution.
Okay, thank you.
Chhaya, right? So you are from Guna district.
So I was born in Guna, but most of the times I've stayed in Bhopal, never in Guna, sir.
Okay, you have, but it is your birthplace, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the district famous for?
Sir, it is famous for Chanderi sarees, sir.
Chanderi saree.
Yes, sir.
So your option is law.
Yes, sir.
So I will ask you one basic question. What is mens rea?
So mens rea is the intention, sir.
Intention.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there has been a lot of talk about criminal justice reforms in this country. There are many to be done. Just tell me what specific reforms, and it should be practical also. What practical reforms? Just tell me two specific reforms that can be implemented very immediately.
Sir, in the criminal
Justice system.
Yes, sir.
What comprises of criminal justice system?
Sir, it comprises the police, judiciary, the lawyers also, I would say, and the prisons, sir.
Prisons,
this whole
right?
system.
Okay. So tell me two reforms.
Immediate
Reforms that can be implementable.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, sir, as I said earlier, implementing what is already there. For instance, zero FIR and investigation finishing in time, 60 days, 90 days. So implementing what is already written in the book right now is very necessary, sir. And second, we can have is increasing the size of police because there is a shortage, increasing the size of lower courts, there is also a shortage there, increasing the size of prison staff, shortage there also, sir. This is resulting in challenges, sir. So
Okay. So if staff will be increased, then you will think that there will be justice.
sir, there will be more access to justice. Ensuring justice would need capacity building further, sir.
Capacity building. Okay. So even though there is capacity building, there should also be intention.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Okay. While investigating, it has been seen many times by the police that they are not with the right people. Even judiciary also. There might be so many other reasons for that. How to address that?
Sir, while investigating, the challenge that police usually face is it's overstretched, and judiciary also is overstretched. It is not possible for them to give attention to one particular case in very detail. So what needs right now is increasing their strength so that they can give attention to detail and not side with the wrong party because of lack of investigation or lack of evidence.
Almost all cases, you see the public prosecutors, how they perform in the courts. Even they don't know the case details also. And they will go to court and they will just
So that
stand there and they will come back.
Yes, sir. So that again falls back to the overburdening, sir. We do not have enough resources, and for example, the judge to case ratio in suppose cases such as Uttar Pradesh, one judge has 20,000 files. It is not possible for them to read all of that in lower judiciary. So it becomes very difficult, sir. So it needs to, we need more.
Even they say that there are so many barriers to enter the Indian judiciary. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes. In the lower judiciary, the procedure is fairly well established. However, in the higher judiciary, barriers can be seen, sir.
So what about collegium? What is your view on collegium-based appointments?
So collegium system presently ensures the independence of the judiciary, which is required as the basic structure. However, there could be
But that is fine, but that is creating barriers for so many people.
So there could definitely be certain changes, sir. For example, it could be more inclusive, more transparent, and also timely appointments. Collegium also has one more problem of delay in appointments, sir. So these things could be considered in the collegium.
That is fine. How to do that? How to be made transparent?
Sir, we can take from best practices in the world. For instance, UK has a system wherein there's a selection commission which will recommend certain name of the judges, and then out of those panel of judges, the judges are appointed. So we can have a standard of procedure on how we are how we are selecting the judges on their exposure.
So we have to
length
adapt
of
the
service.
Britain model. That's what you are saying.
We can take inspiration from that and have a selection commission which could suggest a panel, and then it can go to the judiciary to then on maintain the independence also.
But you know, the biggest hindrance or maybe the biggest reason for not implementing all these reforms. What is the biggest reason? Single biggest reason.
So according to me, it's the mistrust that has developed between the judiciary and executive, because historically it was seen that there have been instances where the independence of judiciary was
I would say
curtailed.
it is the unwillingness of the executive, of the political executive. They don't want to implement any reforms. Not only police reforms, even judicial reforms, judiciary don't want to implement. Because once you implement reforms, you will lose power.
Sir,
You agree with that?
Sir, not completely, sir. Because political executive have been trying to implement reform, say for instance NJAC amendment bill, although it was unconstitutional, but they were trying to implement the new laws which have come up, sir. Those are there, and judiciary also, while it declared that
I am saying is that executive don't want to reform executive. Political executive don't want to reform police. They want to reform judiciary, and judiciary don't want to reform itself. The NJAC, what you are talking, that is executive is trying to reform judiciary, not judiciary is reforming on its own. Even if you say the police reforms, what is the biggest reason for not implementing police reforms? It is the unwillingness of the political executive. Simple, only one reason.
Sir, still I would
Because
say,
if you implement the reforms, then you will not have that freedom. You will lose your power.
yes, sir, that definitely holds true. But in the NJAC case also, say for instance, judiciary stated that there needs to be a memorandum of procedure and it needs to be streamlined. And judiciary itself gave a judgment wherein it stated that judiciary should fall within the ambit of RTI. So there are cases and there have been judges which have come forward and say that collegium system needs to be reformed. So
That is fine, but
yes, sir.
at the end of the day, what is happening?
So yes, sir, it's a slow process, sir.
It's not happening, right? So coming to, you have served in maybe at the training you were trained in police. Now you are being trained in defense. Okay. So tell me, what are the differences between armed forces with respect to women? Women in police versus women in armed forces. Where there are good conditions for women and what is the status quo?
Sir, in my personal opinion, women in police had better position with respect to women in armed forces. Primary reason being women in police are given the same positions as their male counterparts are given with respect to promotions. However, in armed forces, we are still seeing that women have to make their places. For example, the recent case of permanent commission in Coast Guard. So that is the primary difference between both.
What are the other reasons? What are the other points? And what needs to be done?
Yes, sir. Sir, another point that I am able to think of is the representation of women in police. Although it is less, but it is already around 15%. So there is growing acceptance, and they also have to deal with cases against women frequently, for which they need police officers, women police officers. So they feel
Women police stations and all.
Yes, sir. So they feel the need for women to be there. However, in armed forces, as we have seen in the arguments by the government, that the mindset is not right, or the junior ranks would not adopt to female officers, or there are no female officers in combat role. So this mental barrier is still prevalent, sir. And changes, sir, I would say for both of them would be for induction of more women. For instance, police should at least have 33% representation of women, and the armed forces also slowly and steadily they have started giving permanent commission. For example, Air Force has given permanent commission to women in all areas. So this needs to be done, sir, to make it more inclusive.
Chhaya,
Yes, ma'am.
what are Central Armed Police Forces?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Central Armed Police Forces are forces under the Ministry of Home Affairs. These are specialized forces by, for example, BSF, ITBP, CRPF.
If there is a law and order problem, who would be called first, the police or the Central Armed Police Force?
Ma'am, first the police is called to handle a law and order problem. If it goes out of hand, then the Central Armed Police Forces are called in.
You are familiar with the farmer protests?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's say you are posted there as an IPS, and you have an order to deal with the situation immediately. What measures would you take?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, first measure would be the anticipation of the scale of the protest that is going to happen. The second measure would...
so we already know the scale now.
Yes.
We know the protests which are happening.
Yes, ma'am. Then my primary objective would be to prevent, restrict the protest in a certain area, because they also have a right to protest. So how can it be restricted it to a smaller area to prevent spillover? So to have barricades or enough police force in that area. And if this first line of defense goes wrong, then what is the second line of defense? For example, have backups of water cannon, and to stop that. So this one's first, second, third step, ma'am.
So once you know the scope, which we already know for the farm protests, so after barricades you're going to use water cannons?
No, ma'am, it's not. If they're peacefully protesting, nothing has to be used. They have the right to protest.
But you have a command from the top that you have to remove these protesters. Now what you'll do?
Ma'am, the first step is always to try and convince.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're also an advocate.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Yes. Now we have 3 licensed professions, which is medical, CA and law.
Yes, ma'am.
And for both, for medical as well as for CA, there is articling or resident, which is mandatory. It's not the case with lawyers. Should it be made mandatory?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely, ma'am. What we have is we are supposed to undergo a internship, 12 weeks length of internship when our law course is going on. But still what happens is that is not sufficient enough. So once we are done with the law course, we are directly eligible to give the bar exam and become an advocate. But however, 1 year of practice at least is required to understand the nitty-gritties of the profession. So that can be made necessary, ma'am.
Now, it's also said that most advocates are underpaid when they enter the profession. They are being underpaid, and which is probably even less than the minimum wages. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, how do we reform law? At one end, we are saying that there are not enough advocates, there are not enough judges. On the other, we are underpaying and probably exploiting the lawyers. So, how do we reform this?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, there could be, it is a very competitive stage, that is why they get paid 15,000, 20,000 a month. There could be guidelines from the Bar Council, ma'am. For example, senior advocates always need to have a junior advocate with them. So, along with this guideline, there could be a guideline of a certain minimum amount that can be given to junior advocates. That can be done primarily, ma'am.
Okay. Now, can you tell me what are the constitutional provisions of dealing with tribes?
Yes, ma'am.
For tribes?
Yes, ma'am. The primary provision is the 6th schedule, wherein certain tribal areas have been given autonomous status. Along with that, we also have protection in form of non-discrimination against tribal people. And we also have protection in the sense they can protect their culture, their language within the fundamental rights, ma'am.
Okay. What do we understand by minorities in the country?
Ma'am, minorities have been time and again defined, but the definition has been given under the National Minorities Act, and they have identified minorities on the basis of religion. So the minorities which have been identified are Muslims, Parsis, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists.
Okay. Now that you mentioned minorities on the basis of religion, there was also the CAA. Are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
aware? What
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
criticism for CAA?
Yes, ma'am. The primary criticism is that it is violative of Article 14. It is not a reasonable classification that we are giving citizenship right to members of certain community and excluding the other communities. And on what basis have been decided countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. There are refugees coming in from other neighborhood countries also, for example, Myanmar. So primary question is of this reasonable classification under Article 14.
So was this a political move to pass CAA?
Ma'am, it had its political benefits, yes, but as far as my understanding goes, it was also necessary because there has been a flow of refugees from the neighboring countries, and the state definitely needs to deal with them, because until and unless we give them certain status, how will we deal with the population, and it can further lead to issues such as law and order issues in the future. So there was a need to deal with them also.
My last question to you is, your hobby is recreational running. So what other things can we do apart from running as a for recreation, as a hobby?
Yes, ma'am. It depends on person to person. For recreation, people dance, sing.
Okay, what is meant by recreational running?
Recreation is something that allows, for a very personal level, that allows me to cope up with the stresses of the day.
Thank you.
There is a concept of global reserve currency. Are you aware of that concept?
No, sir. I'll have to read, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about de-dollarization.
Yes, sir. Sorry?
De-dollarization?
Yes, sir.
What is this?
Sir, de-dollarization is countries moving away from dollar as a currency which they bank upon to their own currencies, for example, yuan or pound. That is de-dollarization, sir.
So as far as the demographic dividend is concerned, how do you see India's demographic dividend?
Yes, sir. So India is going through a phase of demographic dividend which is going to last till 2040, and this is the time wherein we can raise our standard as a country. There are certain challenges although that we face today with the demographic dividend, is that the skilling is still limited. We need to scale up the skilling. The education also need to be scaled up, and the education that we are giving should be industry linked. So all this needs to be done to harness this demographic dividend, sir.
You said that skilling is a problem.
Yes.
There is another, aspect of this, skill mismatch.
Yes, sir.
What is the skill mismatch?
Yes, sir. So the skills that we are teaching to our demography in the colleges are not making them employable enough for the industry. So there was a report that only 49% of graduates are employable in the industry. So that is the skill mismatch that we
Okay,
have.
what
sir.
about in your case? You are a lawyer and you are going for Indian Administrative Services. This is also an example of a skill mismatch.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. So, however, we are, if when we join these services, to actually bridge that skill mismatch, we have this 2-year probation period wherein we are provided enough training and on-job trainings so as to cover that skill gap, sir.
My last question, what are the reasons for increasing number of under trials against SCs and ST?
Yes, sir. Sir, the primary...
Do you agree with this statement?
So there have been data wherein it has stated that the marginalized people already who are marginalized are more in number when the under trials are concerned. And the primary reason for this is lack of access to justice for them because they do not have enough resources to hire a lawyer and represent themselves in the court. So, sir, that is there, sir. The major thing that we can do in this case is strengthening our legal services authority and directing lawyers also to have a particular percentage of pro bono cases.
How will it strengthen our legal authority? I mean, legal people like you people are going to Indian Civil Services.
Yes, sir.
Okay, many people are doing LLB and after that they are switching their field.
Yes, sir.
So what is the solution for this?
Sir, that is true, sir. But definitely there are other law schools and law graduates which are coming up. There have been an increased focus on law education in terms of raising more NLUs. And also, sir, we can hire paralegals. So they can also provide help in these cases. And there have been innovations in terms of tele-law, wherein we can reach inaccessible places with it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So you have good knowledge of law. I think you should have known about the Forest Conservation Act.
Yes, I'll definitely
Also,
read, sir.
These 3 orders of Supreme Court, Forest Conservation Act, Electoral Bond, and Chandigarh Mayor election.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They've been seen to put the government in poor light. Yes. Or you can call it judicial overreach. So you should know about them.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, questions on law will come because you've done law, your option was law. Questions on your DAF will come.
Yes, sir.
Then current affairs, to read newspapers regularly. You must have been reading also.
Yes, sir.